Scarpins Avenue.
Coming to you live from the Ray Horseman Studio in North Hollywood, California, it's Nobody Listens to Paula Poundstone, your comedy field guide to life. Tonight, there is only one thing certain for every human being, and that's death. So why is it so hard to talk about? Joining us tonight is the founder of the death-positive movement, mortician, activist, and funeral industry rabble-rouser, Caitlin Doughty. She'll talk about the American way of death. Let's not die harder. Let's die better. Plus, do advantage rubber bands really hold your world together? We'll test that product claim. And we open up the listener mailbag. We hope you're dying to stay tuned. I'm Adam Felber, who tries to guide our conversations through the full stages of topical life and then lets them die with dignity. And now, please welcome the woman who resurrects every topical skeleton and flings their conversational ashes to the winds, Paula Poundstone.
Hey!
Nice. Welcome, Paula. And thank you to tonight's very on-topic house band, tuba player William Nakamura, our returning champion this week. Welcome back, William.
Nice.
Paula, welcome.
Thank you so much, Adam.
I hope you're enjoying your winter so far.
I am. There was a nip in the air tonight.
There was.
You know, Adam, remember I told you I get my medication from that Express Scripts thing where
Express
they just
Scripts,
keep
yes.
Sending it?
Yes,
Well,
as far as I remember,
and
you
I
had two different medications that were just piling up in your house.
Yeah, I can barely close a cabinet in my bathroom. There's so much.
Is that because there's so much or because your bones are weakened because you're not taking your medicine?
Well, no, but actually, now that you mention that, I figured out why one of them keeps piling up.
What?
It's because it's the bone medication.
Yes.
I forget what it's called.
You're taking a bone medication.
Skelegro. I think it's Skelegro.
Skelegro is a Harry Potter thing.
I believe that's what it is.
It is not.
Okay, there's these very specific instructions about how you take it. You have to take it when you wake up in the morning.
Okay.
You can't have anything to eat or drink. You can take it with water, but you have to not eat or drink anything for 30 minutes, and you can't go back to bed. You have to be upright.
Upright.
So here's what happens to me. First of all, and you take it once a week.
Okay.
Once
a week, you've got to wake up, take your medicine, and not eat for 30 minutes.
And not eat or drink for 30 minutes. So here's what happens to me. First of all, I forget to take it at all.
Because you're not taking your memory medicine.
So here's what I do. Yes. So I take a piece of paper, I tape the medicine to it, and I write no Diet Pepsi on the paper. Right? And then I sleep with that on the floor beside me.
You sleep with a note saying no Diet Pepsi with a pill taped to it.
Yes. So that when I wake up in the morning, I'll see the pill and I'll remember, don't drink any Diet Pepsi, take the pill.
Does this work?
Well, it works a lot of times. Here's the number one problem that I have, which is that I am so busy at nighttime, just trying to close everything down for the night. You know what I mean?
Shut down Poundstone Industries.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to go into that little sweatshop and tell Wendell to stop sewing the pussy pillows so you can go to sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Stop shoving the catnip into the little Poundstone pussy pillows. And so here's what often happens is when I take the pill out of the little bubble pack thing that it comes in.
Blister pack
thing.
Yeah, or something, yeah.
And I'm carrying it around in my hand looking for a piece of paper and the tape.
Okay, I see a solution to this problem, but go ahead.
Okay. What usually happens is by the time I get the piece of paper and the tape, the pill isn't in my hand anymore. And then I remember I took it.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't see the story going this way.
Yeah. Yeah. Then
you randomly take pills that happen to be in your hand?
Yeah. Because that's usually what you do.
You must have been a
pill
kick in the 80s.
So I take it and then I'm like, well, fuck, now I can't take it in the morning because you only take one a week.
So do you stay up for another half hour?
No, because you're supposed to take it in the morning.
But it still doesn't mean that you have to ignore all the other warnings. It means you stay up for a half an hour and don't drink Diet Pepsi.
No, you take it in the morning after you have.
So you're saying if you happen to take it accidentally in the evening,
right?
All the other warnings are.
Well, I assume so because it's not.
No, you shouldn't assume so. It's obvious that you shouldn't assume so.
No, because the reason you take it in the morning is that you haven't had anything to eat or drink all night.
Right.
Right.
But still, you might as well follow the other.
I drink Diet Pepsi in the middle of the night.
Okay.
But you know,
Here's a solution.
Yeah, you have
Just
a solution?
Yeah, it's easy.
You are the answer man.
It's not really that complicated. Don't open the little pill blister pack until you have the pen and paper and tape.
Oh.
Then you won't be carrying a pill around.
Oh. Adam.
Yeah.
Answer the phone.
there's no phone. Oh.
Adam, answer the phone.
Okay, I'd really rather not.
Yeah. Go ahead, Adam, answer the phone.
We're just getting started here, Paul.
Yeah, it's a phone call.
Okay. Hello.
Hey, Adam, it's me, Mike Boom Boom Bonavich.
Mike Bonifit.
Yeah.
Or Vitch.
Bonifit, my mistake.
Yeah, you seem to get it wrong almost every week, Mike.
I've been on the lam for a while now, Adam.
On the lam?
I've been on the lam. You know, I changed my name a little bit here and there, so, you know, creditors. You know what I mean, man. You know what I mean.
I don't, Mike.
Adam, boy.
Yes.
I'm fucking stupid as shit.
Oh, take it easy, Mike.
You just take...
Wow, right out of the gate.
You get the paper and the tape first, and then you tape the pill. Jesus.
Mike, you can't even say it, let alone do
You
it.
just tape the pill to the paper after you get the paper.
Mike, why are you calling?
Tape. I just called to say, man, you are so smart. I don't know how you work with her, man, because you are so
no,
smart.
she's easy to work with.
Hey, Adam, man, I was going to go do donuts after the show.
Oh, great. Have fun, Mike.
Do donuts?
No, I don't want to go do donuts with you, Mike.
All right, you resting up for when we watch the game together tomorrow?
We're not going to watch the game together tomorrow. Tomorrow's not really a game day, so no.
Yeah, every day's a game day, Adam, because I got, you know my big dish TV with the sports every day.
I assumed.
Yeah.
I didn't know, but I assumed that was part of your life, Mike.
TV with
Big
sports
dish. I bet you have one of those
every day,
old-fashioned,
man,
really
every day.
big satellite dishes, right?
I do. I have one of those. And you watch the Gambling Network?
I don't watch the Gambling
Well,
Network.
you got it tomorrow, man. That's going to be great.
No, Mike, I'm not coming over because, in point of fact, we've never met.
Adam, I gotta go.
Okay. Bye, Mike.
It was good talking to you, man.
No,
I don't
it
know how you
wasn't.
work with that bitch.
No, Mike, that's just out of line, all right? I'm going to hang up.
All right,
If there was
see
an
you later,
actual
man.
phone
See you
here, I
later.
would definitely hang up.
See you later. It's good talking to you, man.
No, it wasn't. Okay, well, that was interesting. Mike Boom Boom Bonifit.
Bonifit. Oh, my gosh. He loves you. He just loves you.
Yeah, anyway, well, hopefully I've helped you with
Adam.
the
Yeah, thanks for...
the pill thing.
Yeah.
So is anything new happening with him, or is it just the bone stuff?
No, they just pile up. Like, I'm telling you, like...
I feel like if you took it
like
regularly,
Harry
it wouldn't
Potter's
pile up.
Hogwarts entrance letters. They just pile up.
Okay.
Express scripts every day. Every day, a knock at the door.
I don't
Express
feel like
scripts.
maybe-
Express scripts.
No, okay, I get the
Yeah,
concept, but
yeah.
I'm wondering whether maybe you're just not taking your medicine regularly.
Well, yeah, but how do you slow it down?
How about taking the medicine on time? So that your bones stop snapping. Just an idea from me to you. Speaking of hotel soap, we like to test claims made by products to see if they're true. That's what we do on this show.
Yeah, because a lot of times products will say stuff, kind of big ideas
Yeah.
of what they can do for you, you know?
Well, it turns out our nobodies are starting to get involved in this.
Which we
Because
really appreciate.
And nobody, Rochelle McRae, alerted us to a claim made by Advantage Rubber Bands. On a bag of rubber bands, it says, "Holding your world together."
Oh, man.
Really?
That would
So
be
if I put
great.
one of these rubber bands on my wrist, will my world then fall apart if I take it off? Or, I mean, what's going on with these, Paula?
All right, so we got a bag of these Advantage rubber bands.
We did.
I didn't even know I didn't know companies still even made rubber bands. I thought they were just stuff you couldn't get rid of.
And I didn't know that any brand of rubber bands was worth having a slogan. Because I don't know that anybody goes to...
It's pretty clear what they do.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody goes to the store and goes like, well, do I buy Rubber Co. rubber bands or Advantage rubber bands?
Well, Tony Anita Hull picked these up for us. She said she got them at the Walmart. So, but she said that Staples only had Staples brand. Staples isn't even willing to have the competition of these.
Right, they're scared of what...
Advantage.
Now,
Is that what they are?
I noticed
Advantage.
two things about this bag that I want to show you.
Yes.
Which is, Bonnie, can you just settle down over there? Oh my God, Captain Crinkle walks in the middle of our intro.
Yeah, she did.
And now she's redecorating.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find a rubber band.
Here, Bonnie.
She's trying to find a rubber band.
Yeah, she was trying to. Because you know what? Because you got a call from her daughter just a few minutes ago.
Right.
And her world is falling apart.
So she needs the rubber
She's-
band.
yeah,
And you know what
she's
she's
using the
decided to
rubber
rubber band? I want to point this out. A bag of potato chips.
You know, I
The
wish
loudest
she was
thing in the
kidding.
room.
She actually grabbed a bag of potato chips to put the rubber band around. There you go.
Bonnie, you're not even involved in this segment, except now you are. And now I'm inviting you to stop being involved.
All right, here.
Wait,
Now, I can't believe there's a company making rubber bands. When I go to like a place where, like a grocery store where you can get the food prepared already, a lot of times on the to-go box, they'll put a rubber band around it. And I have to say to them, please don't give me any more rubber bands because
Why?
I have a whole drawer full of them at home.
Okay, but you're going
Do you
to
see
want
what
that
I'm
on your
saying?
food, though.
I can't I don't want the rubber band on my food. No, I just hold the box closed and then
You're
it's
walking around
fine.
looking for a piece of paper and you accidentally eat the food.
No, I just carry the box home.
Okay.
Jeez, it's like you've been filming me. All right, you know what I noticed about this bag? Does it say a women-owned?
It's besides saying holding your world together, and its website, which is rubberband.com, which I'm sure burned Staples balls. They've got rubberband.com.
Oh, yeah.
It also says women-owned.
Huh.
Not woman-owned. I guess there's more than one woman.
Two women have
could
made,
be many.
Do you know that Thomas Alva Edison,
Was a woman?
no, at the end of his life, really the only project he would work on anymore was trying to domestically produce rubber. It's just something I happen to know.
Really? Did he succeed?
I don't know. I haven't finished the book yet.
Wow.
Well, I don't think so because these are women-owned.
Yeah, well, that doesn't mean that Thomas Alva Edison's granddaughters aren't, great-granddaughters aren't the women. So what are we going to do with these, Paula? I know we're not going to do what Captain Crinkle just did, which is make noise for no reason.
Yeah, it's it never even occurred to me that you could make noise with a rubber band, but boy, she found a way.
She found a
didn't
way.
she? She has a kid. Can you even imagine being a baby in her house? How
I'd
people
imagine
are-
you become easily distractible.
Yeah. No, you know how people are like, shh, don't wake the baby.
Yeah. Right. Right.
She didn't have to get the baby a rattle. She is a rattle.
I have a feeling that baby now a woman
Yeah.
can only sleep when it's noisy.
Yeah.
Like if you shut up for a minute, she just wakes up crying.
Yeah. She's not going to be able to honeymoon near Niagara Falls because the sound of the falls will just put her to sleep.
Right to sleep.
there.
Yeah, exactly. The opposite of what it does for everybody else.
Yeah.
Imagine growing up in Bonnie's house.
Yeah. She we had this
I imagine that
machine-
she's got bubble wrap instead of carpeting. That's my particular bubble wrap, and then for the kitchen to change things up, corn chips.
Yeah. And then she vacuums the bubble wrap. So you got the sucking and the popping. When my son Thomas was little, we had a rock polisher. It tumbled. The rocks. It was supposed to sort of simulate what happens with the ocean.
With erosion, yeah.
And
whatever that is.
the ocean that makes
The
rocks
motion of the ocean,
shiny
sure.
sometimes. So it just tumbled and it just went like that, which is a lullaby to Bonnie's kid.
Absolutely. I'd imagine that's what it sounds like inside Bonnie's head at all times. That's why she doesn't know she's crinkling. She's just got rocks being slowly softened in there.
Sometimes when she makes that noise,
Sea
I
glass
think
is
to
being
myself,
manufactured.
I think to myself, my world is falling apart. But now I have put these rubber bands
Is that what we're
around
doing?
my wrists.
I wanted to get to that.
Yeah.
We're putting it on our wrists?
I'm putting them around my wrists to see if it holds my world together. I will say that, you know what, when
it seems like it's going to hold my blood away from my hand.
Well, that could be, yeah. When I do dishes, I like to put a rubber band around my sleeves so that the sleeves don't dangle in the water.
Well, that's good. That's great to know.
Yeah.
Does it work?
It holds my world together.
Oh, it does. So you're saying
My
this
world
might...
of dishes. But I'm not using the Advantage rubber bands in the past. I have to say, this is an elasticy rubber band.
It's it seems like it's a quality piece of work.
Yeah. Sometimes you pull a rubber band, you think, boy, that's gonna snap any second.
Yeah, but
now.
I think that's because of the rubber band's
together.
age or
that
being
could
left
be.
out in the sun kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to do this experiment for that long.
No, we're not. What we're going to do, and does it make a good rubber band gun? You always want to know that. And it does.
Wow, I don't know how to do that.
You don't know how to make a rubber band gun?
No, and I saw what's that movie that we watched together with Stallone?
Rubber band gun.
No, the one where he's the guy from Vietnam.
Rambo.
Yeah.
Rambo.
Yeah,
First
I
Blood
saw
Part
that,
2.
and I still don't know how to make a rubber band gun.
Well, there were not that many rubber band guns in that movie. Precisely zero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there were. You just didn't see them.
Well, Paula, every week you have a vocabulary word to share with us.
And in that way, this week is no different than any other, Adam.
Yeah. And they're a very useful educational tool. Teacher Rochelle Wilson sent us a terrific photo of her Nobody wall of words.
Oh, my
that
gosh,
she set
I
up
couldn't
for her
believe
high
it
school
when
students.
I saw that.
Yeah, we're going to put that on our Facebook page. We don't want to let her, Rochelle and her students down. Do you by any chance have a new vocabulary word for us?
I do, Adam. I have a word
great.
for this episode. It's soporific.
I know that one.
It's an adjective
Yeah.
that means causing or tending to cause sleep. Here,
Right.
I'll
like
use
for
it in
you,
a
it would be
sentence.
like a Diet Pepsi.
Causing or tending to. No, they don't make me. No, they're not soporific.
Okay.
In an effort to educate myself, I read a lot of nonfiction material. Unfortunately, it can be quite soporific.
Yeah, like that astounding chronicle of Thomas Edison's rubber years. Is that the name of the book, Thomas Edison, The Rubber Years?
No, that's just
What the
one
hell is
chapter.
happening right here, Paula?
Adam,
Okay.
I have.
I want to tell our listeners that Paula Poundstone has withdrawn from her bag a ukulele.
Yeah, Adam, I've presented a lot of vocabulary words on our podcast, but in truth, I can hardly remember any
True.
unless you count Pentateuch, which is the first 5 books of the Old Testament. But how
The only 5
often
books
does
of the
that come up in conversation?
Pentateuch?
Yeah.
Only when I'm talking about the episode on which we discussed Pentateuch.
Well, precisely. So I'm hoping that by creating a little vocabulary song, these words will eventually migrate to the tip of my tongue.
Great, although the song you have created thus far has sounded different every week.
Here's the best I can do. This week's word is soporific. It's an adjective that means causing or tending to cause sleep. Last week's word was sesquipedalian. Wait. Last week's word was
Sesquipedalian.
sesquipedalian. It's an adjective meaning measuring 1.5 feet. It can also mean having many syllables, very long. Sometimes it's used to mean giving. Sometimes it's used to mean giving to using long words. The week before that, the word was piquant. It's an adjective that means pleasantly savory, pungent. It can also mean engagingly provocative, also having a lively charm. I'm gonna stop right there so I don't get soporific. Like the Pentateuch, 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 Pentateuch.
Well, nicely done.
Thank you very much.
Now, I want to...
Pentateuch, 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 Pentateuch.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, William. There's so very much to unpack here, Paula Poundstone. First of all,
Pentateuch, 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 Pentateuch.
I have to say, it sounds as though somebody tuned your ukulele.
What do you mean it sounds just somebody?
That sounded like a chord, a little bit.
You thought I would take out an untuned ukulele, Adam?
Yes. In point of fact, yes. But you're playing some kind of chord.
Yeah. Pentateuch, Pentateuch,
Yeah.
Pentateuch.
And I think
Pentateuch.
you wisely, when the pattern of the
doing
song,
the church circuit now.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew that.
I pity the church.
Pentateuch, 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 Pentateuch. Oh my God, my Sundays are busy.
Yeah, they've got to be. And I do like that when it was time to switch to another chord, when you sang towards another chord, you just stopped playing the ukulele.
Yeah, I don't. In my songs, I don't like the instruments the whole way through.
I understand. I totally understand. Now, Paula, I want you to kind of put away those lyrics
Yeah.
and sing me the song again. Here, I'll just take the lyrics away from you so you're not tempted to have them. And I want you to sing me that song again. I think this is the way we should approach this.
This week's word is soporific. It means
Maybe it'll help if you play the ukulele.
thanks.
Yeah, sure.
this week's word is soporific. It means causing sleep or tending to. Last week's word was sesquipedalian.
Pedalian.
Sesquipedalian. It means 1.5 feet. Or using long words or long syllables.
See, now this is a completely different song. My point is...
Because you took the music away, I'm improvising.
Well, that's the point. The point is if you don't write a song that you can remember, it's not going to help you remember the words.
You took the music away.
Because
now
you
I
can't
have to...
remember the song.
Adam, answer the phone.
What? No.
Answer the phone.
God damn it. Hello?
Adam, it's me, Winnie Feynman.
Oh, Winnie
I can't
Feynman.
believe I got through to you. It's me, Winnie Feynman.
Yeah.
I just love you so much.
Wow, my
You
other
would-
fan.
You would never be soporific to me. I don't
Great,
know
Winnie.
how your wife sleeps.
What?
I got you this gift card from Forever 21 because that's how I see us. Forever 21.
What does that even mean, Winnie?
And I want you to use it to get whatever you want.
I will not be accepting a gift card
I
from you,
just
Winnie.
love you so much.
Well,
And
I appreciate
I can't
it.
believe I got through on the phone to you.
It's great, Winnie, but
Good talking to you.
it was good talking to you. Maybe
I love you, Adam Filber. I love you.
this makes me uncomfortable, Winnie. Deeply.
Please take the Forever 21 card.
I can't because you're not
Dang it,
here.
I'm gonna kill myself.
What?
Dang it.
Jesus, okay, send it our way to our PO box or
Thank
whatever
you,
the
Adam.
hell.
I can't believe I got through to you on the phone.
I
Thank
can't-
you, Adam. I love you so much.
Thank you, Winnie.
I love you.
Okay. Talk to you later. Wow, that was weird, Paula.
Oh, boy, she really.
Paula,
loves
have you noticed that when you get annoyed with me, the phone tends to ring?
No, that's just a no.
Huh.
You know. Though it's interesting you mention that because my watch will just stop.
What do you mean?
I wear 2 watches, and I can't keep them running. They'll just stop. I'm one of those people with electric something,
Okay.
and so I can't keep watches running. And maybe that's a lot.
Maybe
like-
you're making the phone ring and
Well, maybe you're making the phone ring. That's my point.
possible. Well, now, listeners, a couple weeks ago, we had a wonderful thing in that we had our first ever listener-supplied vocabulary song,
Oh, it was fantastic.
which I think is going to be the key to solving this problem of your songwriting.
What do you mean?
What?
What do you mean? The problem of my songwriting?
The problem that your songs are not memorable enough for their own writer to memorize them.
Okay, does anybody remember this? Pentateuch, 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 Pentateuch.
Now
I hear people singing along, Adam.
Yeah, that's true. People are singing along to the one word that you already stipulated you remembered before you wrote the song.
This week's word is soporific. Thank you, Tony.
Jesus Christ. All right.
Tony, who may still have lingering fever from last week.
Yeah. So Tony was dying last week, everybody, but she's better now. Producer Tony Neal Hall, by the way, while she was recovering, posted the list of the vocabulary words on Facebook. So if you're a listener who wants to write that song, write it, record it, send it to us.
I can use all the help I can get with remembering the vocabulary words.
Yes.
And, sometimes music unlocks the memory. So
It does if it's replicable.
Yeah. So
All
I'm
right.
hoping you guys can help.
Yeah, that'd be great. Coming up, I'm glad the phone didn't ring in that moment. Coming up, Mark Twain said, "I do not fear death. I had been dead for billions and billions of years before I was born and had not suffered the slightest inconvenience from it." How do most Americans approach death and funerals? Can we do better? We'll hear from Caitlin Doughty, author of From Here to Eternity, Traveling the World to Find the Good Death. That's when we return to Nobody Listens to Paula Poundstone.
Soporific.
Yeah, thank you, William, for that soporific tune. All right, we are back now, Paula. Just to cheer things up around the room a little bit, we're all gonna die. And what kind of funeral do you want?
I always told my kids, we have a big mulch pile just outside the window on the side of the house. I always told my kids, just mulch me.
All right, they can't.
Well,
My kids are planning on cremating me.
contraire.
Oh, thank you. My kids are planning on cremating me, and I am begging them to wait.
Well, but you are planning for your death in some way or another, right?
No, I hadn't been until I read a terrific book called "Smoke Gets in Your Eyes" by Caitlin Doughty.
Okay.
Smoke Gets in Your Eyes. I believe it's Tales from the Crematorium.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Well, it's a crazy coincidence because we have someone here by that same name.
Perhaps who wrote that same book.
Possibly. She's worked in the funeral industry, written 3 best-selling books about the art of dying well, and has dreamed of living in a culture with a more open, honest engagement with death. She believes that change will only happen with a better funeral industry, where the family is involved in the process and the dead aren't hidden behind closed doors. Please welcome founder of the Order of the Good Death and author of Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs, Caitlin Doughty.
Thank you for having me. Oh, I'm sorry. Tuba intro.
Wait for your fanfare.
Nice.
Tuba fanfares are a little different, Caitlin.
Most of the interviews I get in trouble for waiting for the tuba intro that never comes.
Oh, yeah. Well, this
there
is
you
your
go.
lucky day.
I'm finally arrived. I'm sorry I cut you off in your intro because I wanted to say that Paula probably will be able to be mulched by the time she dies because we just legalized human composting in Washington.
Good. In every community in Washington?
In every community in Washington.
So you can mulch a human in your front yard wherever you want.
You can you have
Because
to
here's
do it.
the
You have
thing,
to
Paula
compost
wants the
them
kids
in
to
a
put her on the
logical way.
mulch pile in the backyard.
You know, we haven't done it in every state yet, so it's possible that, for example, some states you can bury a body at home, so it's possible that in some places you'll be able to compost a body at home too.
Well,
this is the
California,
future I want to see.
I have some years left in me, I think, and I just got my kitten belt in Taekwondo.
Your kitten belt.
Yeah, so that that tells you how powerful I am.
No, it doesn't. I don't think such a thing exists.
Meow.
It's the guy that I train with. I'm not sure that it's legitimate, but I did get a kitten belt. Anyways,
Okay.
Caitlin, I read your first book, and then I'm halfway through your second book, which was From Here to Eternity, wherein you talk about the experimentation with mulching. And I was talking to an audience the other night, and I said to the crowd, I said, I just finished reading a really terrific book called Smoke Gets in Your Eyes. And I said, has anybody here heard of it or read it? And there was a lady on the side of the room. There was a guy right in front who went, it's the creepiest book I ever read. And then there was a lady over on the side of the room who was enamored of the book as I am, which is, I found it sort of uplifting in a really surprising way.
Thank you so much.
It didn't occur to me that I would feel uplifted by tales from the crematorium. What made you want to do that job?
You know, in college, I was a medieval history major. So I was also a bit of a nerd of our dark. And if you think about the Middle Ages, it's full of death.
Yeah.
Corpses in the walls, corpses in the
honestly,
ceiling,
every-
The plagues.
dead plagues.
Every age
dancing
is full of death, in fairness.
skeletons. Every page is, but the late Middle Ages especially were just the pièce de résistance of corpse culture and
Right.
open engagement with death. So that was what I was really fascinated by. But then I graduated, and surprise, surprise, no one was offering me a job with my medieval history degree. So I had to figure something else
I
out.
guess the bottom fell out of that market at some point.
I know. Originally, I was like,
There
this
was
is
a
going to be
bubble.
it. It's like
Yeah, that's it,
basically
yeah.
finance, but no. So I got a job as a crematory operator in Oakland, California. And I think I intended it to be something that 30 years later, I'd be at a dinner party and someone would go, did you know Caitlin worked at a crematory? Isn't that insane? I have all these British friends too when I'm older. And I did it and I fell in love with it. And I fell in love with the weird history of the funeral industry in the United States. And I fell in love with the families and even the dead bodies and how interesting each one was. And it was a different story every time. And I've been doing it for the last 11 years.
Caitlin, why do we have funerals?
I think we have funerals because it's almost like it's a weird chicken and the egg thing, right? Because they've done studies, anthropological studies.
I would say
that
death came
show-
before the funeral, if that's what
Death
you're saying.
came before the funeral. But every culture, indigenous cultures, ancient cultures, current cultures, every culture around the world has always done something with the body. There has never truly been a culture where someone is just bodies drop dead, they walk away, they just don't care. There always has to be something done with the dead body. And is that something that we psychologically need? Is it because we've just never seen anything different? I don't really know the
They
answer
start to
that.
smell if you just leave them
Oh,
around.
yes. Like
Yeah.
biologically,
thing.
something needs to be done with
You
them.
got to do something.
Right, exactly. You have to do something, but do you have to wash their body, dress the body, sit with the body, comb their hair, do everything that we do.
Are you kidding me? No. Oh, that wasn't Bonnie. That was, oh my God. Bonnie Burns had nothing to do with that ringtone. That was our muscle.
Oh, that's all right.
I was hoping there would be like a call-in.
Aretha Franklin wore 2 different outfits at her funeral.
Right. And
which I loved.
I loved it. And her little
Wasn't a quick change, though.
her feet were crossed, which I think is the sassiest move ever, especially for an embalmed body.
She wore fur, too.
Yeah, and she wore fur. I mean, I think that there is something, especially in our modern culture, that is, my funeral will reflect me in all of these deeply personal ways. And it's almost your final performance. And some people are really into that. And then you have people like my mom who are the put me in a hefty bag out on the curb.
That's more the Paula
crowd.
Poundstone thing.
Yeah.
Although the mulch has a environmentalist aspect to
right,
it.
because
It
you
has a
return
back
to the earth,
earth.
And everything. There are creatures that profit from the fact that you existed, which is more than I can say for me now, except for the pod puppy, really. How can you talk about how the U.S. funeral practices have evolved?
Long story short, 150 years ago, death happened in the home. You took care of the bodies in the home. You died in the home. It really was a domestic task, was taking care of your corpses. That's even where living room comes from, to set it apart from parlor, which is where you kept the dead bodies.
Oh,
wow, I didn't know that.
The parlor was for bodies.
For body. I mean, it was for, sitting room, but its main reason was the guests could come visit the bodies.
How many bodies does the ordinary family have at that point?
In the late Victorian, a lot. People were dying left and right because there were diseases. You didn't have good medical. Children would die. Your mother would die. A lot of people would be dead by the time you got to 20
you really
or 30.
needed a room for it.
You really needed a room for it.
Wow,
And
we had a living room when I was growing up, but it wasn't for that reason. It was the family room was where the pets were allowed to be in the room.
Right, I grew up with a living room and a family room, but there were no rules.
The living room, there were doors on it so that the cats couldn't go in there and pee and stuff. It has nothing to do with this.
And you're young
this
enough
is a
that-
complete departure from the interview.
You're young enough that there weren't dead bodies in those rooms,
No,
most
thank
likely.
goodness.
Well,
But
I grew up in a different kind of household.
You did not.
I didn't. No, there were no
under
dead
the
bodies.
floorboards, different
Yes,
story.
yeah.
But
I grew
what
up-
happened is that in the
There was
early
a lot of mob where I was growing up.
late 19th century, early 20th century, you have, first of all, the Civil War, which you needed to be able to transport the bodies from the south to the north, and that's where embalming came in and chemically preserving the dead body. And after the Civil War, those same men went, wait a second, this is a service that we can sell to everyone. It doesn't just have to be transporting bodies long distance. Everybody could benefit and profit,
they could profit
from
it.
embalming.
Whether anybody
So-
benefited or not
Exactly.
is
It was
open
never
question.
Do we need
deeply
embalming if we're
questioned.
having a funeral within a couple of days?
Nope. You don't.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. And, if you want to do the Aretha Franklin, if you want to be in full makeup, full furs, out in front of thousands of people, maybe embalming is for you because it really does help control the dead body. But if you're just doing a simple viewing with mom, embalming is expensive. It's hundreds of dollars. It's putting formaldehyde and other chemicals in your body. And I think it's pretty wildly overused in the funeral industry.
Plus, it's gross, right? Just
It's
the way it's done is
intense.
gross.
It's a lot
I mean,
more
don't-
intense than people think it is.
Yeah,
It's sucking
it's
out
like-
your, the juice from your stomach and draining all your blood and putting
Yeah.
chemicals into you. It's
Right.
not. I don't want to seem. This is. If,
I have to do that before I take my bone med in the morning.
You don't. You just have to not take it the night before.
There's a lot of stuff you have to do. You have to not have anything in you.
you're already embalming yourself with Diet Pepsi. So
Yeah. Oh, is that part of the embalming process?
flowing.
It
Yeah.
could be.
flowing through your veins?
Oh, well, that's good to know. No, all right, tell the story, because I loved this. I'd never heard anything like this before. Tell the story about the Chinese family in the, wasn't it supply closet?
Yes. So I worked at the crematory I worked at. The first one I did was in Oakland, California, which means a really diverse group of bodies and families that would come through our doors. And once I came in, and I wasn't prepared for this, it was a witness cremation for a large Chinese family. And a witness cremation is where you watch the body be loaded into the cremation machine. And I wore a bright red dress to start off, which means joy and prosperity in the Chinese culture.
Okay.
And I got there, and there was this huge altar set up in our supply closet. that was an altar to the person who had died. A big, photo with clouds in the background of the patriarch of the
Had you approved
family
that being
and
set up in the supply
offerings.
closet, or?
Well, my boss did it, so he just hadn't told me that this was all going to go down.
So there was this huge, and then there were like Mr. Clean bottles just behind there.
Yeah, yes.
Great.
Yeah, there were.
Yeah,
Yes,
very reverent.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so we go out, and when they are loading the body into the machine, the family members started wailing and weeping, and it got louder and louder, and they dropped to the ground. And then I saw a video camera come in, and it was filming them. And when the video camera would get in front of a certain family member, they would go, ah, like the wailing would ratchet up
they're really playing
another
it up for the camera.
40%. And I had never seen anything like this. But if you think about it compared to one of our very staid, stiff upper lip Western funerals, I was like, man, if I had a camera coming around and that allowed me to experience my emotions at that high a level, that's maybe not a bad thing.
Well, what do you think the purpose of? So they were gonna around the holidays they were gonna get together and put in the school play. Put in when Sung Ming was in the school play. Oh, we love that. That was fantastic. Okay, where's Mom's funeral? Put that on.
Oh, you should see. We lose our shit at that. You're gonna love this.
It was probably an interesting video. People wailing in a crematory.
Is this a tradition or just a really fucked up family?
No, I think it's a tradition. I think that, and this was sort of what
I have to respect it.
Yeah, and this is
one
hard.
family,
This
you
is
don't
an
have to.
interesting lesson, right?
Okay.
Because my second book, From Here to Eternity, is going all around the world looking at death customs. I was literally in a small Indonesian village where people keep the dead bodies, mummified dead bodies, in their home and sometimes sleep in the same room and bed with them for 3 years, 4 years.
Wasn't there
Can I judge that?
Well, that's the
No,
thing.
I
It's
don't
like,
think you can.
No?
but at the same time, I judge our own rituals and costs and funerals in the United States pretty harshly myself. I think when you turn it against your own culture, it's a little more acceptable.
I'm not a fan about how any of us do death either. I think.
Well, don't they sometimes wait, Caitlin? Well, obviously they wait, but so it's a little bit kicking you when you're down because you're there with your loved one at the funeral parlor, and then they start showing you like the stuff and equating how much you're willing to spend and do with your respect.
That's disgusting.
With your respect for the person who's died.
Yeah. And I blame both the funeral industry, which is a capitalist enterprise, and a lot of them are corporate funeral homes. So it's about shareholders. It's not about, these aren't mom and pop institutions, all of them. And I also blame the public in some ways. And I know
because we're supposed to say no? When
because
somebody shoves a catalog in front of us and says you can have this rich velvet red interior?
Because it's important I have people who come into the funeral home and say, we had no idea Mom was dying. This is so sudden. And she's had cancer for 2 years. And if you call around, they've done studies, if you call a couple funeral homes in the same town for the exact same service, like a simple cremation, you can save thousands of dollars.
It's like mattresses.
By what?
Exactly. Yeah, it's like mattresses.
You mean by what? Like a
by just
layaway?
asking them, no, just by
she's saying the
asking them
prices
how
are
much
arbitrary.
they cost. They're completely arbitrary. So our funeral home charges $895 for a cremation. Down the street, they charge $3,500 for a cremation, the exact same cremation.
And I would do it for, I don't know, 10, 15.
You know what you should do is you should convert to Judaism.
I have a little toaster oven. Now, that's not going to be enough.
That'd take a long time.
Yeah.
If you convert to Judaism, you don't have to worry about that stuff.
Why?
The people I come from, we have a tradition where it's supposed to be a crude and cheap pine box.
Oh, that's also for Quakers, is it not? Quakers, they have better
built boxes. Yeah, they actually build them well.
Yeah, I think my friend was a Quaker, and when his dad died, I believe he made the box itself. Mm-hmm. By the way, I have a bookshelf at my house that is in the shape of a coffin, and it was made by a furniture maker who makes all of his furniture in the shape of coffin. So
we could just take the shelves off for you then.
So, well, yeah, that's one of the possibilities.
We don't want to interfere with the mulching, though. We want her to go straight into the earth.
Can we throw some mulch into the box with her?
I wanted to back you up to something in the story that I had read in your book about the Chinese cremation, which was, didn't you say in the book that they sometimes have paid mourners.
Yeah, absolutely. And that happens in a lot of different communities.
Really? What is the purpose of that?
I think it's sort of almost like a fluffer in a porn set. Like the idea is
Okay.
to grease the wheels, to get everybody in the right
I don't think you could have made that
mood.
more upsetting, but you went ahead and did with the fluffer thing.
You know, I like to call it like I see
I
it.
don't even know what a fluffer is
Okay.
in porn.
I think we should move on and let you continue to not know what a fluffer
No,
is.
I think
That's your vocabulary work
Caitlin
for
is
next
so
week.
comfortable with everything. She'll explain it. What's a fluffer in porn?
A fluffer is the woman or man who is hired to keep the male performer in a porn movie properly erect
Between takes.
between takes. Yes.
Wow. Huh.
So it's sort of an emotional type of labor
Wow.
that they do, which is the same thing as what a hired mourner at a funeral does.
I see a
they're
career corner coming up for us.
performing and-
So you think that the paid mourners are there to help keep people's emotions raw?
Exactly.
For the,
And I think there's an element of guilt maybe for some families too, if they're not, because some cultures value, as like this Chinese family obviously did, they value that level of emoting, that level of sorrow, that level of performance of grief. And so if you have other people who are doing it with you, you never feel like you're letting dad down by not
Right.
being
Oh, it's like paper
sad
in the
enough.
house.
Yeah, right, exactly.
In
yeah.
showbiz,
you know,
we
they
paper the
used,
house.
What
they
does that
used to, it means you give away tickets.
Because you want the big crowd.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, both the Beatles, Elvis, and the Who all had people paid to scream for them and cry for them.
Actually, Elvis hired the Who to do that. It was
That's
humiliating for them as they were starting out.
That's not true
They
at all.
started out crying, screaming for Elvis.
Now, how does one go about finding a good funeral home? Because you were saying that if you call around, so you have to do this.
Okay, now Bonnie Burns, this wasn't Tyler this time. Bonnie Burns just stepped on a dog toy. That's
Yeah.
just amazing. It's amazing that we're trying to record a podcast in an environment that contains Bonnie Burns.
I'll tell you something. I really don't want a funeral or anything like that, but if I did, I want Bonnie to come just for the noise. Just Captain Crinkle could do the eulogy.
Oh, my
just
God.
all in sounds.
There's one dog toy in this
And now-
room, and she stepped on it.
Yeah.
A
Even the
life in
dog didn't squeak the
sounds.
dog toy, but Bonnie did. The dog started to, and then she was like, "Oh, they're taping."
Yeah, I
And
got to
so she-
respect that. Thank you, Bonnie, for simulating what you sound like when you're making noise.
Yeah.
All right, let's return to the matter at hand.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. So, how do you go about assessing what's a good funeral home?
Well, I think the first thing you do is find out what you want, is really talk with your family and say, and how, and you know, it's fun to talk about whimsical ideas like I want to be shot in a cannon into space, but what do you really want? Do you want a cremation? Do you want to be buried? Do you want to be buried in a big coffin? Do you want to be buried just straight into the earth? What is it that you really, really want? Do you want people to come visit you in your body? And then once you have that idea, then if it's you feel comfortable, you can do this. If not, have a friend do it. But call maybe 5 different funeral homes in your town and say, hey, this is what I'm trying to do.
Do you play them off each other like you do with the mattresses?
No, you don't have to play them off of each other. But
'Cause you
just get
totally
their-
got it with the mattresses.
Get their honest feedback.
Yeah.
If they sound supportive and the price is thousands of dollars less, you found your funeral home.
Yeah. So you say, like, you know, Sam Grimace is willing to embalm me for $200. What can you do for me?
I mean, that's happened. We've gotten calls like that, and sometimes it might work. I think that it's important to just not think that calling more than one funeral home means that you hate your mother and you're trying to lowball her death. It doesn't matter how much you pay. That's not the respect that you had for the person who has died.
Yeah. It's better if your mother doesn't hear you making the calls, I think.
Yeah, I think that's probably right.
That's not necessarily true because sometimes there's this mutual pact of silence between like a mother and a daughter,
Yeah.
and the mother's dying and the daughter doesn't want to upset her and the mother doesn't want to upset the daughter, but the mother just wants to talk about it.
Yeah.
If you have that conversation and mom was always a penny pincher, she's going to be like, don't let them take advantage of you.
So you're saying
Yeah.
planning a
Don't
funeral
let this
together can be a fun family activity.
100%. And it stirs up emotions and gets the conversation started, and it acknowledges that death is going to happen.
See, that's what I loved about your book. It was like it wove death into life in a way that wasn't creepy. in a way that wasn't. And yet I feel like if I bring it up, like I said something to my daughter on the phone about it the other night. She was like, Mom. And I tried to to channel you a little bit. I wasn't good at it. You're going to have to talk to my daughter.
I will give her my number.
Yeah.
I'll give her better give me her number and I'll just do a cold call.
Yeah, there's nothing
good
better
idea,
than that.
yeah.
Hi, it's the Mortician.
I want to talk to you about your mom.
I have some news. I think death is an incredible tool because we're so cut off from it. We don't talk about it. And once we are able to talk about it, it opens these emotions and our relationships to mortality that can just pay so many dividends. So what I say when you have trouble, normally it's the other way where kids want to talk to their parents and the parents don't want to talk about it. But even in this direction where your daughter doesn't want to talk about it, you have to just keep chipping away. Maybe the first time she goes, "Oh, Mom, no." Also, don't be afraid to use emotion. Say it's
by
really
the end of the
important.
conversation, she was ready to bury me.
There you go.
Oh,
there you go.
That's good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Only
And
took a
you-
few minutes to get there.
Yeah, exactly. And
She's not gonna- she's not
people
gonna
don't
keep-
want to take that first
She's
step.
not going to keep your corpse around in the bedroom, though, for 3 years.
No, she didn't seem to want me to hang around much longer.
okay.
Okay, one of the sort of philosophies that I stumbled onto in your book mirrored something that I used to try to practice when I was younger. Which is, you mentioned that you knew somebody who was somehow in a study of prolonging life, had this idea that we could live, and that your response to him was?
My response to him is that the meaning in life is that it ends, which is Kafka, not me. But the idea is that we have a deadline, emphasis on dead, that is our lives. And would you put together the work that goes into a podcast like this, the work that goes into the careers that you have? Would you do all that if I just told you, you got 400 years to live? You could do it or not do it. If you have all of that time, there's no deadline or no meaning that you have to hit, whereas you're probably going to live to 80 or 90. You have to do it now. You have to live now. You have to produce. You have to create.
Well, keep in mind I'm losing money on the podcast, so I couldn't do it for.
But that's even more. That's
years.
even more
She
important.
might have to die in order to make this thing break even.
Honestly, that's the only way to pay it off.
Death really works for creative products.
It sure
they sell
does.
big.
I feel that with everything that I do, actually, where even like if I'm working out, my trainer will say like, okay, you do this for 60 seconds. I really need him to tell me how many more seconds, because then I can measure my effort. Because I can't go balls out for 60 seconds. That's just not going to happen. And what ends up happening is I feel defeated before I get to the end if I don't, if I'm not able to give it that last oomph. So maybe we should all just pick a day.
We should schedule a death.
A death day, yeah. I think something I say is that the Grim Reaper has his hand up all our butts. As
Okay.
sort of a little puppet.
Gosh, and I'm seeing Mitch McConnell. Ew.
Whether, oh God, I'm sorry I did that to you.
Yeah, it's not comfortable at all.
And
anymore.
you can accept that and deal with the specter of death and make it your friend and make it your motivator, or you can subconsciously repress it. And it doesn't mean it's not there. It just means that it's working on you in insidious ways.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that theory.
I like that too.
There was also, you talked in the book about the burial with no box, which wasn't the same as the mulching that we're talking about. What was the natural chemical that you needed to eat the bones?
Okay. All right. I could monologue about this for a long time, but I'm going to give you the quick answer.
Thank you.
So natural burial is just what we used to call it burial before we started putting bodies chemically preserved in the heavy box.
Let's just put them in the ground.
Just put them straight in the ground, let nature take its course.
The way a lot of people bury pets.
The way a lot of people bury pets, and the way Jews and Muslims in our country still do it, the way people around the world do it, but we just don't do it in America. Although it's legal everywhere in America, to be clear. So
Is it in your yard?
in some states, yeah. California, it's really hard. When Michael
There's zoning
Jackson
and stuff.
died, they tried to bury him at Neverland Ranch, and Arnold Schwarzenegger got involved, but the government was still like, no, you can't
Who
do
wanted
it.
to be built? Oh,
Michael Jackson. Yeah.
Oh, uh-huh.
So they still wouldn't let him do it. So California is very hard to be buried on your own property. But if you're in Texas or you're in Maine, it's a lot easier. And you can have that kind of natural burial there. But as to the mulching, it's called recomposition is the name of it, and it's basically human composting. And you put a dead body into wood chips and alfalfa and a little bit of moisture, and that's chemically all you need.
What was it that the alfalfa had? Was it
I think it's the right combination of nitrogen and
That was the
carbons
word.
and oxygens, and the body heats up so hot, and it
Right,
comes
just like a compost
that
pit, yeah.
it literally what shocked me so much at the beginning is that it's not like the end product is dirt with some bones in it. You literally your atoms become other atoms. You transmorgify into soil. You become a completely different bit of organic material, and you really are just nutrient rich soil at the end of the process.
Just like when I mulch, food scraps
Exactly.
from my kitchen, I am fascinated that it never overflows.
Yeah, because nature's like
I
taking
put like
care
tons
of
of
it.
stuff in there, and it just
Sinks down.
yeah, and it just is this really, really rich.
And
Plus, your neighbor's construction workers are tramping it down.
Well, that's the other thing.
And it really
and the
depends on
worms.
whether if you do this and you're a natural kind of person and you do this in your backyard, you're like, yes, perfect, this is for me. And if not, this is horrifying. This is Soylent Green. How could you do this to people?
Yeah.
And it's just different strokes for different folks. That's
Yeah.
why we have to have different death opportunities and funeral opportunities for different people.
I
in
call them
different cultures.
funeral-tunities.
Yeah, funeral-tunities. Funeral-tunities.
So you left the place that you worked, and then you went to mortician
Went to
school.
mortician school, yeah, mortuary school.
And then you got your own thing going on?
Yeah, I worked in the funeral industry for a little while after that, and then I opened my own funeral home in Los Angeles it's Clarity Funerals.
Can you freelance this stuff without a funeral home?
No. So there are some parts of the duties that you
Can't
can
be
do.
a traveling mortician.
I can't be a traveling mortician. I wish I could.
It sounds like that would be
actually.
the most
I wish
fun
I
way
could
to
just
do
be
it.
like a lawyer, like put my shingle up and work wherever, but you have to be connected to a funeral home to have.
What music do you have
funeral
playing in your
directing.
funeral home when people walk in? Not at the actual funerals, but like somebody's just coming in from off the street. What playlist do you have?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably sort of light piano or light electronic, like boop, 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 boop. But families will come in with we have like blasting ranchera music.
Sure,
we
sure.
Have,
Once
they
it's
bring
on,
in
it's
their,
on.
Yeah, exactly.
But
People just bring in their own Spotify playlist.
But you just
and
try not to
let
offend
go.
with your music choices
I
for the
try,
coming on in.
yeah,
Okay.
and a lot of people, they don't really need musical accompaniment to their funeral arrangements. I think they're kind of comfortable just
Yeah, I hear that.
letting the room settle.
All right. Well, Caitlin, thank you so much for burying myths about how to approach dying. Paula, what advice can you give our listeners about death and funerals, the Poundstone way?
House band William Nakamura, could you give me a little background music for death? It's a good idea to call around to funeral homes ahead of time. Don't let them upsell you. $10,000? Jesus! What if we don't have the quiche in the bouncy house? Americans have a tendency to distance themselves from the idea of death. I'm going to launch a campaign to change that. So if someone says pass the salt, I'm going to say, sure, if I live that long. I might start a Hollywood funeral home where deceased actors and actresses get propped up on movable posts so they can star in productions that they got rejected for when they were alive. The other actors just fill in with the lines. Dead Shia LaBeouf, starring in Les Miserables. You're Jean Valjean, aren't you? 24601, right?
Caitlin Doughty's newest book is Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs? Big Questions from Tiny Mortals About Death. Caitlin, thanks so much. That was just fantastic.
That was fantastic. Thank you, Caitlin.
Don't die on us yet. Okay, now, has a listener solved Paula's nipple problem?
Oh, I hope so.
I hope so too. We'll find out when we open our listener mailbag. That's coming up right after this. The cat of the week is Renoa from Peoria, Arizona. According to climate scientists, we have 10 years and 1 week until the Earth begins to become uninhabitable. Cha-cha! Hey, we're back.
Nice.
Hey, Paula,
Yeah.
is your Advantage rubber band holding your world together?
You know, I have the rubber bands around my wrists.
I have them too.
I think they're holding my bones together because I haven't been taking that bone med the way I'm supposed to.
Right. Although
But I
that
don't-
bone med isn't supposed to hold your bones together so much as strengthen them. Remember,
Oh.
we had that bone doctor on just to explain that to you a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I forgot. I don't know if I could say they're holding my world together, but they're holding my cuffs around my wrist tightly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it would look like for something to hold my world. Are you
It's
making a
lot.
balloon animal?
I am making a balloon animal, Adam. I got the beginning of it already. I've made Roger Federer. It's a balloon sculpture of his backwards shot, and it was really hard to do the racket because of the weave. I'm going to bring it over to him after the show.
Well, you can't bring it. There's so much wrong
Roger
with this.
Federer's store.
Okay, that's not his store, and you don't really make balloon animals. So
I do too.
Well,
I do
that's a
too.
balloon at the moment.
Well, yeah, but it's part of the Roger Federer.
By the way, a backward stroke is called a backhand.
No, it's not. It's backward shot. The famous. Adam, answer the phone.
What? No, please, no.
Answer the phone.
Hello.
Hey, Adam, it's me, Mike Boom Boom Bonifit. You know what I'm doing right now?
What, Mike?
Sniffing magic markers. You want one?
No, Mike. No, I don't.
Man, you know so much about tennis, man. What the fuck is she talking about, Roger Federer?
She might be talking about a famous backward shot that he did at one point.
That's what she thinks she's talking about. She doesn't know how to do balloon animals. I can't even see the weave of the tennis racket. I can see him, but he's not backwards.
What are you talking about? You can't see any of this because you're not here.
Yeah, it's me, Mike Boom Boom Bonifit, on the phone with you, Adam. I love you, man. If you want a magic marker, I can get you one.
I don't want them.
can
I
get you
have
one.
plenty of magic markers, and I don't sniff them.
What do you mean?
That's bad for you, Mike.
Let me ask you something. Don't you think Elton John's right about Saturday night being right for fighting?
That's an interesting philosophical question, Mike.
Yeah.
I would say for you, yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I think he's right. Saturday night's the best night for fighting, man. It's the
He
best
didn't
night.
say Elton John didn't say best night for
He
fighting.
says right.
He actually
Saturday-
says it's all right for
Yeah,
fighting.
it's right. All right for fighting.
It leaves open that there might be a better night.
Yeah. It's every night's good for fighting, man.
Are you a fighter, Mike?
Sometimes I get a little scrape here and there. You know what? She doesn't know how to make balloon sculptures. That Roger Federer is not backwards.
I don't even know what you're talking about, Mike. She hasn't even begun twisting the balloon animal yet, and you're not
She
here.
She can't do the weave of the tennis racket.
I just need you to kind of back off Paula a little bit, Mike. If you
She's
want to.
a bitch.
See, now that's the opposite of backing off, Mike.
Goddamn bitch.
Damn it, Mike.
Yeah. Hey, listen, man. I'll see you tomorrow when we watch the game together.
We won't, and you won't.
Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow for the game.
Bye, Mike.
Bye, Adam. Good talking to you, man.
No,
Good
it
talking
wasn't.
to you.
It was not in any way good, Mike. All right. So you're making Roger Federer there.
I'm making Roger Federer doing his famous backwards shot.
What backward shot are we talking about? I'm gonna.
You never saw the backwards shot?
I don't know. I've seen a lot of good tennis shots. You mean the
Nah.
one through his legs or something?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. It's probably all you have to do. All you have to do is Google the shot,
Okay.
and it'll come up.
I'm not going to Google that, but okay.
You're not going to Google that?
No,
What
but
do you mean?
I
You're too
believe-
busy. What's the matter with
I
you?
believe he did that.
Yeah, he did. He did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gabriele Sabatini was one of the first to be famous for that shot. In fact, it was called a Sabatini.
Fuck you.
I love when your quest for knowledge runs up against your disdain for me having any.
Yeah. No, it's Gabrielle Sabatini. Yeah, that's what they call it.
Absolutely true.
Sabatini.
You
Everybody
just
calls
hate-
it the
you-
Sabatini.
you just
I
hate-
remember Roger Federer. You know, that's why, probably part of the reason he opened his appliance store.
All right, first of all, he didn't open an
Yeah.
appliance store. Second of all,
No,
clearly you don't like the idea of women
No.
accomplishing anything before men.
Oh, was it? Gabrielle, she had a appliance store.
She didn't.
Gabrielle Sabatini.
Neither of them
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, you know, she used to sell washing machines. They were called Sabat washing machines.
That sounds way more obscene than it's supposed to. Wow. Please never say sabotwashing again.
Sabat washing machines.
Oh! I don't know why I feel like I need to sabotage after
Yeah,
hearing
now
that.
you're gonna have to shower after that.
Yeah.
Adam, I have a cute little cat story for you.
You do?
Yeah.
Wow.
There's been a
Well, let's
bad
break from our
smell
schedule and hear this.
in my kitchen for the last few days, and I couldn't find the source. Today, however, I looked way back in the cabinet that holds the dish towels, and there is evidence that a cat has been nesting back there, and a bunch of the out-of-circulation holiday towels were fused together by some cat discharge.
Yeah. That's not a cute story.
It's a cute little cat
It
story.
seems like every time you tell me these cute little cat stories, they're always something like that.
It's good to start the year off with a cute little cat story.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
So what are we doing?
Wow.
Come on, what
we
are we
just
doing?
used the cat effluvia story as some sort of palate cleanser after the Sabbath washing machine. I just need some sherbet or something. All right. Now, Paula.
Yes?
We always welcome letters from our listeners.
We welcome letters from our listeners.
We do, and it's time to share some now.
Oh, good.
Let's go through the Nobody Listens to Paula Poundstone mailbag. Mailbag.
Brian Fry wrote us because
I think that's pronounced Frey.
Brian Fruits wrote us because he thinks he has a solution for my nipple problem.
Okay.
Thank
Oh,
you,
your
Brian.
nipple problem. Let's review your nipple problems.
Let's review my nipple problems. I don't think we have time for that, do you?
Well, we could just say that over the past calendar year,
Yes.
in a life in which previously your nipples had gloriously, or at least ordinarily, escaped injury,
Yes.
suddenly
Never
you had
any problems at all.
suddenly you had, I believe, 3
Yeah.
repeated incidents wherein one of your cats or another of your cats more or less pierced your nipple with their claws.
Precisely.
Okay.
Some hind claws, right, one through my right, one through my left on a separate occasion. And then, of course, somewhere along the way, I was
re-injury.
using the laptop.
Oh, right.
And shut one of my nipples right in the laptop. So I've been in a lot
I
of
forgot
pain
about the
this last
laptop
year.
one.
Oh, it's been a difficult year. So Brian recommends nip guards. Producer Tony Anita Hull tells us that nip guards are a quirky product. Nah. That 99.9% of the human population will never need. Patented and launched in 1999, nip guards revolutionized the market for... Well, was there a market? Revolutionized the market for protection against painful nipple chafing and abrasion. I have had nipple chafing before, by the way.
Yes.
When I forgot my sports bra at my Taekwondo class, and I don't even know what the uniform is called, but it's that big sort of canvassy white, that you tie.
Oh, yeah.
My,
It's
my kitten belt around.
Yeah,
and,
your kitten belt, sure.
Yeah, and boy, if you don't have your sports bra on, you can chafe that.
Well,
So
yeah,
these-
and you know what? I would say there's a real use for this product because from what I hear from my friends who are marathon runners, even men can end up with bleeding nipples at the end of a marathon.
I don't think they're doing it right.
Doing what, right? Marathoning?
Yeah, you just run.
Yeah, but there's chafing when you run, especially as your garment becomes wet and dries again and becomes wet and fills up with sweat. Eventually, you have a state of chafing on your nipples that causes bleeding.
I have never heard of that.
Okay, then it doesn't exist.
I'm sure it does.
It does.
It's upsetting. It's one more reason not to run a marathon.
Well,
I'll tell
let's
you
you
that.
and I make a pact here today that we'll immediately
99
start training to never run a marathon.
99.9% of human population will never need it, and right here you have identified, I think, a fairly large portion
I
of
think
the
Tony
population.
Anita Hull might have gotten that a little bit wrong.
Yeah, I think she was.
I think there might be
she's
like a
just
1
not
to 2%.
looking closely at people's nipples. She was just spitballing that number.
Yeah, and the question we need to ask our listener, Brian Frey, is
Brian Fruits.
Fruits is this will guard against chafing and abrasion, but what about cat claws?
Yeah, well, we're going to put that to the test.
Maybe
I think,
we need to test that product
I think
claim
we're gonna
on
have
this
to get
show.
That. Yeah, I think nip guards can hold my world together.
Yeah, they might.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Here's another one from the mailbag.
Wait a minute.
What?
Adam Felber.
Uh-oh.
It is French Trump. I cannot talk right now because I'm busy. 1, 2, 3.
What are you counting, French
4, 5.
Trump?
All day long, the phone calls, Mr. President. I had to flush my toilet 10 times today. Ring,
yeah.
ring. Yes, Trump speaking. Mr. President, I had to flush my toilet 13 times. Wait, let me get the paper. Not that kind of paper. A paper to write the number down on. 13 toilet flushes. While I have you on the line, can you do me a favor, though?
On the line here? This is a live appearance, Mr.
I
French
know. I was
president.
talking about when I'm talking to people. Because every day.
Oh, I see.
Every day, citizens, they call me, they say, French Trump. I had to flush my toilet 10 to 15 times today.
Literally nobody says that, Mr. French Trump.
They do. They call themselves. It's a problem.
And I live in California where we have a lot of low-volume toilets, and like, we flush...
I hate California.
Okay, well...
I declare war on California.
You can't declare war on your own country.
I do. Adam, do you want a picture of Christian people touching moi in the Oval Office?
I do not want such a picture. Thank you.
I can get that for you.
I know. I've seen the picture of...
Can you do me a favor, though? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Adam, I have to go.
All right, French Trump, everybody. Let's move on back to the mailbag. Mailbag. And nobody, Ginny Smolier, asks the question, why do digital scales give you the weather after showing you your weight?
What digital scale is that?
Mine does.
Nuh-uh.
Yes, it does.
That's ridiculous.
It does.
I've never heard of that. I have a digital scale, and it doesn't say a word about the weather.
Oh, I think what Ginny Smolier is talking about is your smart scales.
Oh, you can get them over at Federer's. Roger Federer's.
It's not Roger. It's just Federer's. It's an appliance store on our corner. Has nothing
Roger
to do.
Federer's.
Is this Roger Federer,
Yeah,
by the way?
you can see the tennis racket with the weave.
You really can't.
And he's it's his backwards shot, so he's backwards. Do you see that he's backwards?
He looks like a wiener on a tripod.
So you don't like tennis?
No, I'm a big fan of tennis.
I'm bringing it over there
Wait,
to
you know
him
what?
after
You
the
actually
show.
did manage to put two balloons together here, and there's a way in which you could say that this is a vaguely humanoid shape.
It's Roger Federer doing his backwards shot, and you can see the tennis racket there with the weave.
I will say this, Poundstone, you have improved
Thank you very much.
with your balloon
Thank you very much.
twisting
It's very
skills.
kind of you.
Yeah.
I can see why Winnie Feynman is such a fan of yours.
I don't understand why
she
I
loves
have
you.
to.
She loves you.
It feels
All right,
like
so
Winnie and Mike call whenever I piss you off. That's what it feels
no,
like
not
to me.
true at all. Ginny Smolier, like Smolier. I've never heard of such a digital scale.
I have one. Mine is made by a company that has advertised with us, Withings, that make my watch, my
Oh, I
sister's
didn't know
company. And they make a connected Wi-Fi scale that tracks your weight and takes your pulse.
That's absurd.
And it also shows you the weather outside in the morning.
Does it tell you how much money you have?
No.
You know what mine does?
Your scale?
Yeah.
It weighs you?
It says, get off! Get off now! No, I never heard of such a thing. Good question, though, Jimmy.
It is a good
never
question.
heard of it. Apparently, you have more modern appliances than I have. Jimmy,
Right. And
'cause I don't
as
have
for
that.
the answer to that question, I think they're just showing off. I don't think anybody needs a scale to tell them what it's like outside. We all have phones and windows. Both
yeah, you
high-tech
look
devices.
out the window. That's
Yeah.
what I say.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know it would be awful if the weather report told you your weight.
That would be truly awful. Good evening, and let's take a look at our 5-day forecast. Well, Poundstone's put on a few.
Boy, the good news is that tornado's not going to be able to lift her.
All right. If you have questions that you want Paula and Adam to answer, send it to nobodylistens-to-Paula at gmail.com. And speaking of hotel soap, Paula, you had an experience with shampoo and conditioner recently in a hotel.
I did. So I'm in the shower at a hotel the other day, and I think
Pilfering a bar to
this
give
is
as a prize to a listener.
No, I give them fresh hotel soap. No, this is probably a good thing in a way, which is that because the small shampoo and conditioners are a tremendous waste of plastic. And so I applaud the hotels that now have large containers on a rack, and they're fastened in. You can't take the shampoo and the conditioner out because you know some fucking guy's going to pee in it. So they have it.
What?
Yeah. You know that's why they have. So you can't take it out. You have to use it.
No. No, Paula Poundstone.
Yeah, you have to
I gotta
use
say,
it.
there's a lot of things that guys do that are just awful, and I'm
Yeah, no,
constantly ashamed of members of my own gender.
Yeah. as well
But
as
I
you
don't
should
think
be.
anybody's peeing. I don't think.
No, that's exactly why they have to do that.
No,
Because
they
somebody's
do
gonna
that so that people don't steal it.
No, somebody's going to do something god awful to it, and so you can't.
Dudes just
so
don't
you
go around
can't move
pissing
it.
and stuff.
But so the other day, oh, they do. So the other day, I'm in the shower, and the you can't see whether it's shampoo or conditioner or body
Wash.
shower
Body wash, yeah.
But yeah, and the name of the company that makes it, which I've forgotten now, was very large
Yeah.
at the top, so that I could see, but I couldn't see what it was, and it's not like I can take it out and look at it. And so
I've had this exact same problem, and I think it's because we both wear glasses. So what I'm doing now, and this is for real, this is life advice for once on this show.
Taking your glasses into the shower.
I walk into the shower with my glasses, memorize where those things are, then get out of the shower.
Wow, you must have a good memory.
It's 3 bottles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my memory sucks. If I went like shampoo, conditioner, body wash, the minute I got back in the shower, I'd be like fucking body wash, conditioner, shampoo. God
No,
damn
but
it.
it's actually a
but
thing.
I ended up putting, I'm sure, because, then I decided, okay, well, I'll know from what it does to my hair. And so I'm
Wow,
sure.
I don't see how that could be the
Yeah,
case.
I'm sure I put like body wash in my hair because you can tell, because if it was shampoo, it would soap up in a particular way,
Right.
And if it was conditioner, it would
Wouldn't
take the
soap up, yeah.
tangles out,
Yeah.
And neither thing happened, which leads me to believe that it was
that
body
you washed
wash.
your hair with body wash.
Yeah, which is very frustrating.
Well, if
so
you're
I
listening out
applaud
there-
these hotels for using less plastic by the large thing, but could someone not take a fucking spray paint thing and put shampoo, conditioner?
Just use a font that's reasonably sized instead
Right,
of
but
those
the hotels-
willowy, scripty stuff they do.
The hotels aren't in charge of the font size. That's coming from the manufacturer.
Yeah, those manufacturers should listen up.
Honestly, I don't know why they won't.
All right.
Yeah, and I wish guys would stop peeing and everything.
Nobody's.
They do.
Look, we do a lot of awful things, man. But
You do.
no, we don't. Nobody's peeing in those. All right, if you're a listener who's a man who occasionally pees in things like hotels shampoo, please write in and send it to somebody else, not us. Okay. But, Paula, since you've been on the road experiencing hotel shampoo, that probably tells me that you're in the midst of yet another tour. You're going to be in places.
I hate promoting myself. It's the part of my job that I really, really hate.
Which is why we got together with the staff and decided to cut that part out of the show.
I'm going to be in Dallas, Texas on February 29th at the Wind Spear Opera House, and I'm going to be in New York on April 30th at Town Hall.
All right, and it's, April 30th. We're already promoting April.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, you got to get ready for April.
You got to be
It's
ready
a
for April.
big
'cause it'll-
month in the United
It'll
States.
sneak up on you.
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
April 30th, for those of you, for the people who are sitting around the dinner table going, what the fuck are we going to do on April 30th? I got just a thing for you.
It was always terrible when I was younger, when I was dating and not married, wondering like, am I going to have a date for April 30th?
Yeah.
it's just-
a lot of pressure on a young man.
it's kind of too much pressure. I think they should like de-escalate April 30th.
Yeah. You know what a lot of guys do on April 30th?
What's that?
Pee in the shampoo in the hotel. They just
don't.
get so nervous.
It's not a thing.
It is.
No.
Yeah, we got a thing.
Guys like the luxury of being able to relieve themselves in various places where
I know,
there aren't
they're
bathrooms.
just
That's
pigs.
definitely a thing, like on the sides of trees and
Ah,
stuff.
Jesus.
Yeah, but hotel soap, that sounds a little.
No, shampoo.
I mean, yeah, shampoo. That sounds
yeah.
a little
Juvenile.
mean. Yeah.
Mean? Oh, yeah.
Okay. Point taken. All right, Paula, you will have at the shows that you're doing, the one on April 30th and the one on February 29th in Dallas, you're going to have Poundstone pussy pillows available.
That is correct, Adam. I have 34 pounds of catnip. That
You sold about a pound's worth of catnip?
Maybe, not even. Wendell, my assistant, I made the design. I take pride in that. It's a rectangle. It's a pillow shape. But we have a homemade catnip toys that Adam has coined Poundstone pussy pillows.
I really was kind of kidding.
Yeah. Well, it's taken off, Adam.
Yeah, well.
It's taken the nation by storm. Each one has a grommet in it, but I must say, so that you could tie a string through it and tug it, I do not provide the string.
I feel like that's just kind of cheap.
People have to do something for themselves.
They're buying your pussy
A
pillows.
little bit of effort, folks.
All right.
So anyways, there's a little cat joke on one side, and on the other side, I'm happy to autograph it to your cat.
Well, that's it's a great thing, and
Cats love them.
Cats love them. They're full of the nip.
Yeah,
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And you can find a complete list of Paula's performances where you can buy pussy pillows at paulapoundstone.com. You can't buy Poundstone's pussy pillows at paulapoundstone.com.
You cannot.
We have our tech people working night and day.
Try to prepare the website so that people could buy.
Because once we do, we're going to be the next
God.
Amazon.
Yeah. Wendell's going to be up night and day.
Just sewing those Poundstone
Already
pussy
I can
pillows.
hear, from the sewing machine.
Yeah.
He's bought like 4 sewing machines. He has them in
It's funny.
his
Does your
little
sewing
factory.
machine sound like Flight of the Bumblebee?
William,
can I have a little Flight of the Bumblebee? No. Good to know. Good to know.
I admire your honesty, William. Thank you.
All right, we'll be back right after this.
On this day in unremarkable history, Sylvia Plath's mother said, "Smile."
Well, welcome back, all you nobodies. Paula, do you have any message this week?
I do, but before I tell you that, Adam, I've taken my Advantage rubber band and I've put it over my head and lowered it down around my breasts so that it's covering my nipples. Now, it's not all that comfortable because they're not large rubber bands.
It looks deeply uncomfortable. And I would say covering your nipples is not the term I would use here.
Well, it's just covered
It's,
the very tip of my nipples.
Yeah, it's
It was really, well, it's really more...
it's running athwart your nipples.
It's really more made a tributary across the center of my nipples.
Yeah,
I was
it's covering your nipples the way a dividing line on a road covers a highway.
I was trying to make my own nipple protection, but maybe it's not the right way.
No, Paula, just take that off. Paula, take it off.
Jesus,
There's
what
no
was I-
cats in here anyway.
Yeah, but the pot puppy.
Yeah.
Adam,
Yes.
I know I don't have to tell you this, but I'm going to say it anyway. We are loving doing this show.
It's so fun.
People say to me all the time, "Could you move?" And I'm so flattered because I know what they really mean is, "I love your podcast." So thank you for that, nobodies.
Uh-huh.
The problem that we face, unfortunately, is that in order to continue making Nobody Listens to Paula Poundstone, the comedy podcast, we have to increase our listenership. And the best way to do that, of course, is by word of mouth, one listener telling another that they are a fan of the show. The difficulty with that is that many listeners find that an awkward conversation. So I have come up with a simple sample dialogue in order to pass that kidney stone. Try this.
Okay.
Listener, I'm so glad we have a chance to get together. I haven't seen you in a long time. Listener's friend, I've been awfully lonely and depressed lately. Listener, gee, I'm sorry to hear that. The holidays can amplify that. All the songs seem to indicate that someone's coming home or that you're going to be surrounded by... What are you doing? Listener's friend, I'm dislocating my hip, wrapping my knee around my neck on the left, and putting my big toe in my ear. Listener, well, that's disgusting. Listener's friend, my dream is to be a contortionist in the Cirque du Soleil show. Listener, well, I sincerely hope that works out for you. What are you doing now? Listener's friend, I'm stretching out my lower jaw and sucking on my right eyeball.
Do we have to do this?
Listener, Jesus, do you do that in front of other people? Listener's friend, sometimes. Listener, I think I figured out why you're alone. You have to stop this. I mean, you want to be in a Cirque du Soleil show, fine, but socially, contortions are not helpful. The truth is, even during the contortionist part of a Cirque du Soleil show, most people look away and hope it ends soon. Are you peeking at me through your nose? Listener's friend. Yes, listener, stop it. This isn't helping your depression, and it's off-putting. Listener's friend, you always seem so well put together, so well balanced. How do you do it? Listener, well, I'm not really. I have my wacky moments the same as everybody else, but I will say, well, I've never told you this before because it just felt awkward. See, Adam? But
No,
I
I dozed off.
But I listen to Nobody Listens to Paula Poundstone, the comedy podcast, and I enjoy such healing laughter from it. I really do think it's a mental health toner. You don't have to listen alone either. Listen with a friend or two. Listener's friend. I love that idea. I'm going to listen to Nobody Listens to Paula Poundstone, the comedy podcast. Listener, if you think I didn't just see your toes when you opened your mouth, you're wrong.
This has nothing to do with listeners anymore.
This
Not
has everything
a thing. No, this is just your way to fuck with me.
That's not true.
Yeah,
Adam.
it is.
We want listeners to tell one another.
These are physically impossible things in this dialogue.
No, there's a contortionist.
There isn't.
She's a contortionist.
There's never been a contortionist that sucks their own eyeballs.
Yes, there has.
No, there hasn't.
She was here.
No, she wasn't.
She was.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So I think, one listener at a time
Yeah.
is how we go about doing it.
That's definitely the
And
pace
that's
we're going to
how we're doing it.
just going to say that. All right, nobodies. Remember, our email address, again, is nobodylistensToPaulaPoundstone@gmail.com.
And you can find me and Adam on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can find my remarkably soft tri-polyblend t-shirt with the self-portrait on the left breast and a memorable quote on the back at paulapoundstone.com.
But don't go looking there for cat toys, because they're not there yet.
No.
Okay, now,
coming.
before we move on, before we say goodnight to everybody,
Yeah.
has your world been held together by Advantage rubber bands?
I can't say.
Okay, I want to remind you, this is a women-owned company.
It doesn't matter. I feel
I want you to remember that women own this company.
I feel about rubber bands the way I feel about my presidents.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if they're women or men, they just need to be good.
Are
And in
these
the case of the women that are running, they're good.
These are good rubber bands.
These are good rubber bands.
Are they holding your world together?
Well, I have to say, I'm not sure that here in our studio is the right opportunity for the rubber bands,
Yeah.
So, they've held my wrists together, and I think they've held my bones together.
Okay, well then a partial yes from you. I would say I think these are about the highest quality rubber bands I've ever had wrapped around parts of my body during a podcast.
Yeah, but is that the right test?
Is it the right test? I would say probably no.
Yeah.
Because my world is bigger than this podcast, and thank God for that.
My world isn't bigger than this podcast.
You poor,
hey, listen,
poor
I
thing.
gotta go because I'm bringing this balloon animal over to Roger Federer.
Oh, good luck with that. Ask him to autograph it. Anyway, that's our show. Nobody Listens to Paula Poundstone is hosted by Paula Poundstone and yours truly, Adam Felber. Produced by Paula Poundstone, Adam Felber, Bonnie Burns, Ken Lazebnik, and Tony Anita Hull. Technical direction by Ray Horseman and mixing by Anthony Alfaro. Special thanks to tonight's house band, William Nakamura! And thanks to our guest, Caitlin Doughty. Security muscle is provided by Tyler the Ringtone Burke. Transcription services for this show provided by Transcribe Me. For your special Paula Poundstone discount, use code Paula Poundstone when placing your order at transcribeme.com.
That's our show for tonight. Won't somebody please listen to me?
Take that off your nipples. Just take it off.
I'm not sure I can.
Starburns Audio, a podcast network.